Good evening. You're watching Breaking Today News right here on Switch TV. I am Lincoln Wambugo. Our sign language interpreter is Teresia Washira. We have a lot in line for you tonight, but first let's take a look at the headlines. IEBC files a notice of appeal against a BBI decision by Court of Appeal. Five-story building under construction collapses in KINOO, Kiambu County. Shock as LOIYANGALANI residents are forced to eat hyenas to beat starvation. Glad you're watching. Send in your feedback and comments to our SMS line 111 at Switch TV Kenya and at Lincoln Wambugo. Our 30 minutes of the broadcast begins now. As the recent drought continues to ravage the north, life is becoming unbearable for some communities in Marsabit County. LOIYANGALANI residents have today shocked the world by eating a striped hyena to beat starvation. The hyena was hit by a vehicle in LOIYANGALANI town. Confirming the incident, the area chief Orbora says the drought is biting hard in the area. Andrew Orgube, a resident of LOIYANGALANI, says the incident is not very common, though sometimes the residents actually resort to anything edible to beat starvation, especially during drought seasons. Mandera Governor Ali Roba in his tweet says that leaders from the north must now focus on how to mitigate the biting drought rather than politics. Such state of affairs in the north. Residents of KINOO, Kiambu County woke up to yet another tragedy when a 6-story building collapsed. These coming days after construction workers were killed when a house they were constructing collapsed in Gishie area of Kiambu County. The National Construction Authority has, however, refuted claims of having approved construction of the building. Sazamunga with more.
Today, a 5-story building collapsed in KINOO area in Kiambu County. With the collapse of buildings in the area being on the rise, engineers are now calling it a violation of construction measures.
We have professional engineers, and when you involve a professional engineer, there is a responsibility to him or to her to ensure that your facility comes to be. If it fails, you can take a legal action.
Masons on site had noticed cracks on the walls, prompting them to stop construction.
It's a foundation problem that has prompted the collapse. So as a community of engineers, we have rushed to site. We were in our many assignments, but this scenario is something that we want to now take seriously.
The National Construction Authority have, however, denied having approved the construction of the building in question that collapsed today, that investigations are underway to identify whether the owner adhered to zoning regulations of construction.
When the county government was approving this building in November 2020, they approved the works, but the owner of the project did not follow the due process up to a logical conclusion. And that means the project was not approved by the National Construction Authority. From the information we have, there was no site engineer, there was no site supervisor. So you wonder how the work was going on. We have now is we have consulted as a team of multi-agencies, and we have decided in the best interest of the people, for safety reasons, that this building will have to come down. So in consultation with the county government, the governor is making arrangements to ensure that the demolition is done, and so the work will be carried out either today or tomorrow.
Residents living near the building have, however, been evacuated from their homes as the collapsed building is yet to be brought down completely. Now, what was meant to be a 5-story building is now a 6-story building, leading to its collapse this morning. With the question in mind, what really transpires when contractors come to take action during construction? Sazamunga, Switch TV.
Thank you, Sazamunga. Now to help us unravel the mysteries of these buildings that are collapsing in Nairobi, which is not something that is new. In studio, we have Nashon Tambo, an engineer. Nashon, thank you for creating time. Nashon, buildings collapsing is not something new. But what leads to these buildings to collapse? And who is accountable?
There are several factors that can lead to a building collapse, but I'll take case studies of the recent collapses that have happened, starting with Gashie, for instance. Gashie, you could tell from the reports of the residents living near the place, the building was constructed fairly fast, and when they were third floor, the building had already started leaning to one side, meaning that there were already issues with the construction. And there are usually some standard procedures and timelines when you're putting up a building, and when you do it too fast, then there's quality that is compromised in the material, for instance concrete, and all that contributes to the structural failure that ends up in collapse, leading to loss of property and life.
Nation, for instance, today there's some key things that came out. Owner did not follow due procedure, violation of construction procedures. I mean, but where does NCA come in all this?
NCA is an enforcement authority. Their work is to ensure that once the building is approved by the county government, where the designs are checked and approved, those are statutory documents where we have the architectural and the structural designs being checked and approved, then the NCA enforces the construction regulations on site. That is, they should be visiting sites and checking that the construction is progressing as the drawings that have been approved, and whatever is happening on site is proper and ends up in safe and secure buildings.
Kenyans are citing corruption in all this. Is corruption one of the things that is leading to all this?
It could be, because I don't understand. It doesn't make sense for a building that was approved to come down if there was no underhand deals in terms of approving maybe substandard buildings or taking shortcuts on site. So yes, corruption could be a major factor playing in the significant collapses we've seen recently.
For instance, in this KINOO case, it was meant to be a 5-story building, then ended up to being a 6-story building. What could have come to play in all this?
Could be, yeah, sometimes developers design buildings maybe for a 5-story, then when they get to site, then they add additional buildings without consultation. That could be one of them. And also for the KINOO site, you could tell that the building was sinking on one side, something we call settlement. That is as a result of poor foundations, which in turn were as a result of maybe substandard or lack of carrying out geotechnical investigations that show the type of soil and the strength of that soil to carry whatever building, a building to whatever height that it is designed to be in future. Yes.
Should action be taken against the owner of the building, the engineer of the building, the architect of the building, or the county government or the national government?
So that is
who is to blame here?
That is a product of investigation, because it's very difficult to know who it is to blame. Might be the engineer had a sound design, and when they go to site, maybe the developer did not engage the engineer to conduct inspections on site to make sure everything is being followed to the book. And in that case, then it becomes the engineer really did not conduct inspections to make sure their design is being constructed as is on paper. So in that case, then it becomes the developer's fault. And maybe the developer, on the other hand, was okay, but the person who designed the building and was carrying out inspections did not do a good job. Then that becomes the engineer's responsibility.
In this case, the National Construction Authority says that it was not aware of such a building.
Yeah, then that becomes that's corruption now, because it means that the building did not undergo the statutory approval process, where it is the authorities are aware that this building is coming up. It is this is the owner, these are the consulting team that are responsible, this is the contractor that is going to execute the construction of the building, and this is the location of the building. So in that case, it becomes very difficult, because now the developer is at fault. They did not follow due procedure in processing the building approvals, and the NCA being notified that there's such a site and such a building, and these are the specifications of that building.
Moving forward, Nation, to avert such collapses that can actually lead to loss of life, if Kenyans want to be whistleblowers of such buildings being constructed, what should they do?
When residents or Kenyans suspect that a building is not being constructed following due process, then they should report that matter to either the National Construction Authority, that is NCA, or the Engineers Board of Kenya. There's also the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, IEK. Those are the legally mandated bodies to kind of follow up and see what's happening, so that whoever is responsible for the failure of not following due procedure is prosecuted, investigated and prosecuted.
And now on the part of the national government and the county government, what should happen?
They should just streamline their processes and ensure that whatever loopholes are there in the approval process in the offices is managed, because it starts and sometimes ends with them. You find that there are people who take bribes in those offices, and substandard buildings end up being approved, and we end up with the situation we had at KINOO today, and Gashie a few days ago on Monday.
There are questions of old buildings.
Yes.
What can be done to fortify them, or should they just be brought down?
Buildings have a service life.
Of how long?
Most of them are 50 years. Very few go to 100 years. It is after, once a building surpasses the service life, then
of 50 years.
Of 50 years, it should be brought down, should be demolished. You'll find that in the West, this is something that is very much adhered to. Old buildings are brought down safely. There are safe ways of demolishing buildings. So yes, old buildings should be demolished after the service life has ended, or if not, then consultation should be done with the professionals, so that they see how to fortify them, so that they would stand a longer duration.
Thank you.
Safely.
Thank you, Nashan. Thank you, Nashan. Now, elsewhere, a family of 5 have succumbed in a fire tragedy at Ormana village, Mashuru in Kajiado County. However, the cause of the fire has not been established. The area member of County Assembly, Amos Peshut, has urged the county government of Kajiado to avail firefighting equipment and experts so as to control such incidences. Mariam Jahid reports.
At around 8 p.m., Saitoti Olemaina left his house after dropping foodstuff for dinner preparation and embarked to his pub just 1 kilometer from their home. Little did he know what awaited his young family. According to the eyewitness, at around 9:30 p.m. in Omane village, Kajiado County, the 3-bedroom iron sheet house connected to electricity was reduced into ashes.
Na information kuhusu Kenya nilikuwa naona ni stima imechoma nyumba yangu na watoto wangu. Tangu siku hiyo stima ipotee ilikuwa ina blink tu na stima ikuji na watu waliitwa na hawakuji kushughulikia.
37-year-old Timanoiti Pape and her children aged 5 months Naishorua Saitoti, 6 years Godwin Saitoti, and 9 years Kumeyan Saitoti, and 18-year-old house help only identified as Alice were trapped in the fierce fire whose cause is yet to be established. Shocked residents milled around the home trying to come to terms with the incident.
Tukajaribu kuja kuwaokoa hao, moto imezidi. Na tuliona kama ni kama shortage ya stima. Na labda walikuwa wamelala tayari. Na hakuna vile walikuwa wamejaribu kutoka.
Confirming the incident, Mashuru Deputy County Commissioner Barasa Wafula says investigations into the unfortunate incident have commenced in earnest.
We are yet to establish the cause of the fire. That is what is being looked into.
The bodies of 5 were taken to Kilome Nursing Home in Emali. Mariam Mjahid, Switch TV.
Thank you, Mariam Jahid. On our question of the day, we ask, is there laxity in the National Construction Authority's work? Is there laxity in the National Construction Authority's work? SMS us on 011 444 and Switch TV Kenya and a link on Mbogo on all social media handles. We take a short commercial break. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back and thank you for keeping it Switch TV. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC has filed a notice of appeal against the BBI decision by the Court of Appeal. The Commission says that the parts of the appellate court's findings that it intends to appeal include the constitutional composition, quorum and mandate of the IEBC. At the same time, the Attorney General has filed his appeal with 8 grounds. Among the grounds include the court findings that basic structure doctrine is applicable in Kenya. A section of Kenyans now say Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i's submissions before the Parliamentary Committee on Security on Deputy President William Ruto's security details saga were mere politics meant to tarnish his name. On our weekly edition of Bunge la MWANANCHI with Majibu Kitsao, a section of them have also hit back at the second-in-command, questioning his high number of security officers, whereas there are many areas still grappling with insecurity in the country.
Ningependa kushukuru Matiang'i. Hata akitaka kujifoeza atawekewa kwa sababu tunaanza kwa bottom up tukipanda juu.
Bila shaka labda ni kipofu, mtoto hajazaliwa na yule wazimu ambaye haelewi ndo atakayekwambia ati Matiang'i halikuwa chezi siasa.
With insurance companies seemingly shying off from insuring vehicles using liquefied petroleum gas LPG, drivers fueling their cars with the gas have expressed their uncertainty regarding insuring their cars. However, insurance experts have come to the defense, saying that the intention is still new in the market, but offering optimism that the insurance industry is structuring to cover LPG-driven cars. Our business reporter Brian Mwende has been following this development and has filed this report.
Tukapeleka ile ngoma ya rege, tulianzisha Kisii, tukaenda Kakamega, tukaenda Mombasa, tukaenda Kitui, tukaenda Narok, tukaenda Garissa, tukaenda Meru, pembe zote za Kenya. Unasema ati there was not enough consultations.
ODM leader Raila Odinga continues to defend his stand on the BBI, saying it was a tool to unify Kenyans and solve issues affecting Kenyans and not to amend the constitution.
Nataka tuwe na nchi moja. Ndio sababu tumesema nataka hii equalization fund izidishwe kwa miaka 20 ingine, ili eneo zingine ambazo zilipata athari zaidi zilikuwa nabaguliwa ziinuliwe zije juu.
ODM Secretary General SYFUNA firing shots at the BBI opponents, saying that the good ideas in the BBI bill have gone to waste.
One man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, ya kwamba kila mtu aweze kupata haki yake. Raila Odinga anapozungumza anasema tofauti ya Kiambu na Mandera ama Marsabit, hasemi eti pesa ambazo zimepeanwa Mandera zichukuliwe zipewe Kiambu. La, anasema watu wa Mandera wapate haki yao.
Consequently, SIFUNA has rubbished RUTO'S economic model, saying the country needs unity ahead of the 2022 polls. Nairobi Women Rep Esther Passaris, on the other hand, dismissing campaigns against Raila Odinga, saying he has shed blood and tears for this country and thus he is best suited to become Kenya's 5th president.
Slum upgrading. Nani alianza slum upgrading Kenya? Watu wanasema baba alifanya nini Kibra? That's where slum upgrading happened. That's why the president has a housing agenda. If you look at anything good in this country, you will come back to Raila Amolo Odinga.
The ODM leader spoke while receiving new Orange Democratic Party members at the Orange House today. Sheila Ngetich, Switch TV.
Thank you, Shelangatich. The one before that was just a teaser, tip of the iceberg on what we'll have for you on Bunge la MWANANCHI with Majibu Kitsao. Now, still in matters politics, Deputy President William Ruto has rubbished the politics of ethnicity, saying it has been overthrown by the politics of economic models. His allies, led by Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Jumwa, have also dismissed recent remarks by Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i, stating that Ruto is trying to use sympathy to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta come 2022. Daniel Kariuki reports.
In what seems as a race against time, 10 months to the 2022 general elections, the Deputy President William Ruto, who has publicly announced his interest in the top seat, has continued to defend his hustler narrative and economic model ahead of the polls and why he is the best fit for the position.
Kuna watu wametuzoea vibaya. Wametuzoea kazi yetu ni kuwapigia makofi, kuabudu, kuwapigia kura, ili hali mambo ya mwananchi mdogo haimo katika mjadala ambayo inaendelea katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Na conversation ndio ibadilike, lazima tuanzie hapa chini tukienda juu. Wengine wakienda kuongelea vile watagawa viti, sisi tutaongelea vile mkulima wa chini maisha yake itakuwa bora.
DP further defending his hustler narrative days after he fell under sharp criticism over his amount of wealth. Ruto instead saying troubled politics will be overtaken by the politics of economic models.
Hapa uchaguzi iko hapa mbele, ndio tutazika siasa ya ukabila kabisa katika taifa letu la Kenya. Hii uchaguzi iko hapa mbele, tunataka tupige kura kama watu wa Kenya.
His allies, led by Malindi MP Aisha Jumwa, also dismissed recent claims by the Cabinet Secretary for Interior Fred Matiang'i that Ruto is trying to use sympathy to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta come 2022.
Wanasema ati watu wanatafuta sympathy. Na nataka nimwambie yeye mwenyewe ni appointee wa rais yetu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya ambaye yuko kwa ofisi, alikuwa kwa ofisi 2013. Akitumia hiyo sympathy kwa sababu watu walimpeleka ICC. Kwa hivyo asisahau.
Ruto was speaking as he hosted a delegation of small-scale traders from Embakasi, Nairobi County in his current residence. Daniel Kariuki for Switch TV News.
Thank you, Daniel Kariuki. Now, this is Bunge la MWANANCHI. The section of Kenyans now say Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i's submissions before the Parliamentary Committee on Security on Deputy President William Ruto's security detail saga were mere politics meant to tarnish his name. On our political edition of Bunge la MWANANCHI with Mejibu Kitsao, a section of them have also hit back at the second-in-command, questioning his high number of security officers, whereas there are many areas still grappling with insecurity in the country. Take a look.
Kenya wengi wanasafa. Tunajua pesa ni mingi Kenya, lakini iko kwa mifuko ya wachache.
Uchumi wa nchi unazorota.
Nchi ni yetu sote.
Well, once again, welcome to Bunge la MWANANCHI, and of course, this is the #1 political set for debates and discussions by ordinary MWANANCHI, still on matters surrounding Deputy President William Ruto's security details. Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i, appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Security, said William Ruto is the most guarded Deputy President in history, with many others, saying the DP was being targeted and that this whole issue is political. Is the DP being targeted by the government? Is he a victim of the state? It is a conversation we'll be having today here at the Bunge la MWANANCHI. Kindly join me.
Huyo jamaa hata hilo hasa ile atakutumia hilo jina. Yule jamaa yule nitapeli yule. Nitapeli anataka kurusha jinsi alivyokuwa ni maskini, lakini ukimwangalia vizuri jamaa kama nilivyomuita nitapeli, anakuja kutudanganya kisaikolojia. Hajakaa vizuri jamaa, si hasla, yule jamaa nitapeli tu.
Bila shaka labda ni kipofu, mtoto hajazaliwa, na yule wazimu ambaye haelewi ndo atakayekwambia ati Matiang'i halikuwa chezi siasa. Matiang'i amecheza siasa 99% yote ilikuwa siasa. Hata macho yake yalikuwa yanatuonyesha alikuwa hata yuko serious. Alikuwa anaongea hata vitu zingine havielewi, anapiga tu siasa. Na
kwako ni siasa tu pekee yake pale.
Siasa, na tunakumbuka tuko katika msimu wa siasa, hiyo ilikuwa ni siasa.
How can you have chickens in police guarding your chickens, yet there's insecurity in Bargoi? That is a shame to him. He must apologize to Kenyans. He is very greedy and very selfish. Hatuwezi kuwa na nchi ambayo mtu mmoja ako na maskari 257 wanalinda kuku na watu Bargoi wanauawa kwa sababu wanakosa usalama. Huyu mtu hafai kuongoza nchi. He's a very dangerous fellow. Thank you.
Anasema hafai kuongoza nchi, ni mtu hatari sana. Kauli yako ni ipi kuhusu swala hilo?
Smear campaign, basic smear. Hao watu wamekosa agenda, wamekosa substance ya kucounter William Ruto. Sasa wanajaribu kumpaka matope. Matiang'i mwenyewe kwa boma yake nyumbani Nyamira, si yako na AP kama 6 kwa mlango. Na anafuga kuku kwa boma yake. Sasa hiyo kuku kwa boma yake inalindwa na polisi ama ilindwi na polisi?
Ningependa kushukuru Matiang'i kuimplement kitu Ruto ameshindaka kituambia bottoms up. Matiang'i aliangalia akaona aanze na AP ikiende GSU. Huyu William Ruto nadhani kukuwa na security hadi wale zile zinalinda kuku 257, na ukienda hata huko Turkana watu wanauliwa, kuna cattle rusting and everything. Tungependa kushukuru Matiang'i, hata akitaka G4S atawekewa kwa sababu tunaanza kwa bottom up tukipanda juu. Hiyo ndio tulikuwa tunapenda, kila mtu apate haki yake. Vile mama mboga
itekelezwe kila mahali.
Vile mama mboga ana security, yeye pia tafutiwe, hata kama tatafutiwa au G4S wamlinde mama mboga, pia kuna mtu anamlinda kwa sababu ni hasla hana kitu ya kunyang'anywa. Wacha madynasty wako na vitu za kunyang'anywa, walindwe.
William Ruto is a bona fide deputy president of the Republic of Kenya na ako entitled kwa state security and state protection. Hii raia ingine yote which are in fact ile title wako naye ni elderly statesmen, haiko kwa constitution yetu.
Sasa akipeleka weakness zake anapeleka, anasema tio opposition wamekuja kuingilia government. Kitu inatakana afanye, kama anaona he's not happy with the government that he is serving in, he's just supposed to resign. Kwa sababu ukiwa mahali unaona sitakikani, kama utakikani mahali, kwa nini unajikwamisha hapo?
Instituting all this kind of security from GSU to AP, I think that's being unfair to the DP. In as much as everyone is working against the DP and they are demoralizing, he deserves some kind of security.
That's all we had for you from the Bunge la Mwananchi for today. I am Majibu Kitsao. Many thanks to all those who made this conversation a success, all those who contributed. My camera person Francis Kariuki. Till next time, stay safe.
Wakenya wengi wanasafa. Tunajua pesa ni mingi Kenya, lakini iko kwa mifuko ya wachache.
Uchumi wa nchi unazorota. Nchi ni yetu sote.
On to some sports news now. Vihiga Queens have secured the semi-final spot of the ongoing Council for East and Central Africa Football Association Sekafa Women's Club Championship with an 8-0 victory over New Generation of Zanzibar. Hamilton headed title rival Max Verstappen in a bizarrely truncated first practice session at the Dutch Grand Prix. The hour-long session was interrupted for nearly 40 minutes when Sebastian Vettel's Aston Martin stopped on track with a suspected engine failure. The